should have brought water. Oh well. Hello everybody. Welcome. I was hoping I'd have a bit of a brighter light, but maybe that's okay. That's okay. That'll do for now. It's like soft mood lighting for Miss Jessica. So what we're gonna do today is we're actually gonna do some, it's gonna like Green Lantern like bingo. Wait, hi Scott Summers. Hello Guy Gardner. Happy birthday. Thanks for joining our live yesterday with myself and Hal. Hal is busy doing some behind the scenes things right now. Let's see here. There. I think that's better. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So we're going to talk a little bit. Let me bring this a little closer. I'm trying to been in between places a bit. So, the new trailer for Lanterns dropped, and I'm told that there's going to be some True Detective stuff in it in terms of it having multiple timelines. So, well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm always hopeful of things working out. So, I do not have a Green Lantern comic book to read you guys tonight. Instead, I wanted to go over... Oh, hi Pikachu. Welcome. Actually, let me show you guys the whole outfit first. I don't actually have... There's a few things I'm missing just because been going through. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. Much love. Much love. Take a look at my little so there's some talk about the suit in the actual my little lamp over here, my little workstation. So you're in my little fairyland area with me. So I wanted to talk about Jessica Cruz being a final girl. Do you guys know about the final girl trope when it comes to movies, especially horror movies, slasher movies, that kind of stuff? I'm a big movie buff. Me and Hal, we like watching movies. If you're on like long space missions, sometimes you gotta long plane rides, watch movies, right? Last to Survive. Yes, you got it. Oh, Hooch 16, gold star for you. I was gonna actually do a workout as Jessica Cruz to be like, hey, Green Lantern recruits, this is your, like training day exercise. Because if you're going out into space being galactic guardians and the such, you probably have to be in shape. Thank you, We the North. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. We're going to be talking off the top of my head some Green Lantern stories. Scott Summers / Guy Gardner, if you can also validate certain things, as well as I know that many of you guys here are true comic book nerds and you do love the Lantern lore. So I wanted to talk a little bit about prophecy, like the Book of Away, the concept of Blackest Night. If you go on my YouTube channel, I know it's a little disorganized. Big Willie, I do cosplay. Cosplay has been very healing for myself. Lantern lunges. Oh, yes. I like that samurai and the alliteration, right? We like some alliteration, my nerds. So Jessica Cruz, if you guys are not familiar with Jessica Cruz, she is, I'm going to forget the sector right now. It's sector 2814. Someone correct me. But it's funny how, she talks about how there's a lot of Green Lanterns that come from Earth for some reason. So let's count all the Earthling Lanterns. We have Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, myself, Jessica Cruz. And, yes, it's just a one-piece suit. So it's my own, you are the energy that powers your meat suit body. So there's a double entendre there when it comes to the suit. Like, I made my own Green Lantern rings, but I don't have them with me right now because we're traveling, and I didn't want to wreck them in transport. So I might get some new ones while I'm out here in the prairies. But for now, what we're going to talk about is Jessica Cruz's origin story and this whole idea of transmutation of like fear into becoming a Green Lantern. So the latest trailer, let me bring my microphone closer to me. Meat suit. I like my meat suit. My meat suit. My hubby used to tease me all the time. I'd be like, if we were in the apocalypse and you had to like eat a section of my leg, it would be very like lean cut flank steak, delicious, but I wouldn't let you eat me. Anyways, we're going down a weird path with that, so let's stop. TikTok, I'm sorry. Okay. So Jessica Cruz, the reason why I call her Final Girl, and the reason why I'm also bringing this up is because I graduated grade 8 in 1999. So that was a while ago, you guys. Like, I turned 41 this year, and it was kind of crazy. So bring it back. And so in 1999, Scream had come out. So there was this whole new wave of like teen slasher films of like I Know What You Did Last Summer and like Urban Legend and like Final Destination and all those like a lot of like this resurgence of like horror movies. And personally, I like horror movies. I don't know about you guys. I like being scared. I look at it as almost like psychic training. Like if you like train yourself not to be scared, and this comes back to the Lantern trailer, right? So it's almost like the people who did the first Lantern trailer heard us, you guys, like how we were like, oh, there's not enough green. Where's the suit? So it's like in this trailer, they added like a suit that looks a little bit too big for Mr. Hal Jordan, even though, okay, I like the actor who's playing him somewhat. It's not his fault, I think, in terms of like the lines that he's been given. Jaden and Samurai and Ninja, thank you for the gifts. Much love. Jaden, I would have loved to have been alive during the 90s. They had the best shows and movies. Jaden, do you mind me asking what year you were born? I think we have some old souls in the chat, even if you weren't around in the 90s. Oh, and thank you for bringing me back to why I was even talking about the 90s in the first place and Scream, because when Scream first came out, the character of Sidney Prescott, so back in the day, if they were to do a Green Lantern live action, I would cast Neve Campbell as Jessica Cruz, because she's got that final girl at like in between the Scream movies, because Jessica Cruz's origin story goes like this, right? She's basically like a guy's girl, which I can relate to, right? Plays video games, hangs out with her boys, that kind of thing. And so she goes out on a camping trip with her guy friends, and they end up being witness to, these mob guys like getting rid of a body, right? Like they're like witness to like something they shouldn't be seeing. So the mob guys see them, and so they then, unalive Jessica's friends right in front of her, right? And so she manages to escape. I can't remember how this happens, but like just like Final Girl, right? The one who survives. But like, let's not forget that every single one of your friends is gone at the end of the movie, and you're the only one left, right? In some cases, you're the virgin, not always, but but it's always like that final girl trope of the one who goes on, and like in the end, like you fight back. Or like Jamie Lee Curtis back before, back when in her younger days of Halloween. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes. So Jessica, as a result of these these horrifying happenings, she develops PTSD, right? She hates going out to, and who can blame her, right? And that's like when we talk about mental health on this channel, there's this level of like when crazy stuff happens to you, is it so crazy to have a response that is dramatic, right? To fall into like this feeling of like, I don't want to go out into big spaces because I have anxiety being around people, because like I literally just saw my friends, like, you know, this horrible trauma happened to me. And so I've now developed certain, I call them like personas and like armor around ourselves, right? And we can get paralyzed by fear. And as someone who has like, you know, social anxiety, I know it doesn't seem like it being live with you guys and hanging out, but I started out, I'm a very shy person, but you know, the best thing to transmute fear is to face it, right? And that's so cheesy, right? Because if you let it paralyze, if you've let it not like make you not do something, like you're the only one who loses. And like I forget that quote. What was it? The only thing to fear is fear itself. Oh, SNES, thank you for the heart me. And Daniel A, thank you for the heart me. And I remember you guys, thank you for joining me for the Lantern Corps party last night. So I was just going over Jessica Cruz's backstory. Thank you, Glam. And I will tell you guys, like, I relate to Jessica a lot, because after she ends up with PTSD, and, you know, your mental health is at stake going through something like that, right? That's, I think, the biggest thing that we in a society have to address as well. Like, you can't just like medicate and like pretend something is not happening if something actually horrible is happening. It invalidates that experience, right? So let's not downplay when something, you know, life-changing, altering, traumatic happens on an individual level, and what that means for your story and how it can change your trajectory as to like what you thought was real or what you thought was true is now flipped on its head. And then you have to reorient yourself, and like, what, you're gonna still have to go to work and just still act like everything's fine, you know, like that's is that normal? So to be able to have space to be able to feel all the feelings, I think we don't have time for that. And I think the lanterns, when we look at my bingo card of the different lantern rings, I don't know if you guys relate to any of the rings besides green, which is will, right? But I will say that you can't really say any of the rings are good or bad, right? Like, if you had one of them not existing, you'd have an imbalance, right? And so the prophecy, oh, hi, Pokey. Hello. I feel like you'd be a Star Sapphire. I do have a cosplay waiting in the wings, and I need to alter because it's a little bit too big for me. That is a Star Sapphire, which is love. Now, one would think that the love rings would be good, right? But they end up being the villains to the Green Lanterns sometimes. Like Carol Ferris, who's actually played by Blake Lively. And I think the Green Lantern movie is how Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds actually met. So interesting. And they made Carol a blonde, which is interesting because she's usually a brunette. Anyways, regardless, I like her. I have a cosplay of her coming up because her and Hal Jordan are actually a couple. Jessica Cruz is far younger than Hal, so in the context of storylines, they wouldn't really be a couple, right? Like, although I'd probably have a big crush on Hal. Who wouldn't have a crush on Hal Jordan? He's legendary. Let's see here. Hey, Jess. Oh yes, Stephen Quartz Universe 6. Hello. Yes. So, oh my goodness. I didn't even bring myself a glass of anything. I drank. I'm going to show you guys my cup first, like my South Africa Big 5 cup. Yeah, because I'm half South African. People always think that I'm like just Asian, but it's not. It's not true. I'm am a child of the earth. I'm an earthling, let's say that, representative of that. I believe Jessica Cruz is Latina. I do not, if I had to believe so. And in the Lantern Corps universe, she typically works with a partner named Simon Baz, who is related to the 9/11 stuff. I feel like, I need some mood healing. Oh, Pokey, I've been going through rough times. And you know what? You're not alone. I've been going through a moment. I don't have all my cosplay with me, and I've been trying to work on how to story tell what's been actually happening. And it's hard. And so I feel, Jessica, right now, like, how do you turn what fear that is paralyzing into something that you can work with, right? I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show The Magicians with Quentin Coldwater, and it's basically Narnia. But there's a saying in The Magicians that magic comes from pain, right? This concept of, like, energy is energy, even when it feels like awful, and like, it's like, what is the point of this agony, right? But if we can, like, take it and synthesize it and transmute it and transform it into something beautiful or transformative, or something that where we test ourselves against our metal, against life itself, and you come around the other side, right? Let's see here. How to story tell. Oh, fast track. You caught me. I think I was like, I'm gonna tell you guys a story that's, like, just off the top of my head, because I don't have a comic book to read you guys today. This is the very first comic book I ever read you guys as Supergirl, which is a cross between the Lanterns and Supergirl, because she goes to Mogo to find intel on who really killed Krypton, because it ends up being an insider job. Spoiler alert. But this is actually the comic book that got me interested in the Lanterns, right? Because I had a conversation with my friend Aria, and she's like, who actually likes lanterns? And I'm like, I like the lanterns. What do you mean? And she's like, why? I'm like, oh, well, because I just like this concept of, like, working on a team. Like, you guys know I play D&D every Thursday, and it's like this idea of the lanterns are core, and, like, you oftentimes have, like, Hal being like, why am I going to join the Justice League when I'm already part of, like, a galactic guardian organization? And if we look at the history of the DC universe as a whole, the Lanterns play a big role in it. And if you've read Doomsday Clock, which is the crossover between the Watchmen universe and the DC universe, you actually have Dr. Manhattan pay very close attention to how important these rings are, right? Because these rings, yes, green is cool, green, wonderful, like, that's nice and all. There's many other meanings to green, right? There's a version of Green Lantern, is it Alan Scott, where he's Green Lantern in name only, and he gets his power from the green, which is kind of like Swamp Thing's green, right? The Green Man, which I look as, like, the masculine expression of, like, Mother Earth, like Mother Earth's champions, like how trees are that kind of thing. How's the blonde guy from Superman? Which blonde guy from Superman? Oh, you mean Guy Gardner? I don't know if Guy is still in the chat. He can explain that as well. So the lanterns. I guess if you were to watch the trailer and you didn't have any comic book background into the lanterns, I don't know how much stake you would have in it being, like, good or not. I don't know what expectations people have for things being live action, fully expressive of things like this, because the lanterns are supposed to each color, it's kind of similar to your chakras, right? Where it's an expression of an energy, right? Like how gods and goddesses and, like, these superheroes, they're also expressions of, like, higher essences and, like, other meanings, right? So Green Lantern, the green, if you look at it, to me, it's always looked like looks like a lantern, yes, but it also looks kind of like a scale, right? Because all of the powers of each of the lantern colors come from, I'm going to say this wrong, I always call it the electromagnetic spectrum, but it's the electro-emotional. Anyways, it's energy that comes from emotion itself. And so what you end up having here is, red is rage, yellow is fear, sometimes called the sinestro core. Blue is hope, indigo is compassion, star sapphire or pink is love. Quick pop quiz, who knows the first male star sapphire? You'll get I need to figure out how to give you guys prizes and this kind of thing. You? I feel like, yeah, you might be. You could be. But there is actually one in the comic book. Was the wild one? Which one do you mean, Hail Caesar? There's also greed, which, like, I think someone says, like, it's better to kind of call it avarice. And I did have a comic book which is Tales from the Core. The pink lanterns are Zamarons. They're typically female, but not always. And I wish I had the comic book with the different tales, because that would be more fun. But it was Jon Stewart, you guys. So Jon Stewart is actually the first star sapphire. He actually also has a really cute relationship with Fatality, who is a star sapphire. There's cute relationships between, the love lanterns and the will lanterns. But, just like emotions, right? And how, like, love is blind. Love is not necessarily the greatest. Like, if you're looking at things logically and you have to make big cosmic decisions, you can't always let your heart lead you in that kind of way, right? Because sometimes our feelings can lead us astray. In the sense, purple, I think we call it indigo in this case. But yeah, purple is compassion. And just like hope, those lanterns are, and it's also too, like, the lanterns, how they react to each other is different. Like the white lantern, the first white lantern, I think, is Kyle Rayner. And it's because Kyle Rayner does a great job of, like, being able to, like, be selfless. And he's also, like, a comic book artist. So I think, like, there's something there about being able to, you mean Kyle, right? Bill Ferry, yes. Well, I mean, Supergirl also has had the Red Lantern, Red Ring as well. So, and I think how she's able to extract herself away from the Red Ring is by, like, pushing herself through the sun, right? And, like, getting the Red Ring off. But typically, I think you're supposed to use a blue ring of hope in order to extract a red ring. I'm not familiar with all the rules behind this. We should do, like, Green Lantern bingo, get all the other Lantern crew together. Or if you guys want to dress up as your own lanterns, and Pokey, if you have, like, I think that's the biggest thing about the suit, right? Because the ring that you have, the way the suit will look like will be a construct of your imagination or your mind, right? So same thing goes with all the rings, is that the ring chooses you too, right? So it's the synergy of your consciousness with the ring's power and being able to, like, pull that out. And yes, Batman had a black ring, yes. And the death ring is not fully understood either. They do, like, a bunch of zombie stuff in Blackest Night. It's kind of creepy. Jeff Johns is actually one of my favorite comic book writers. And I forget who illustrated Blackest Night, but I do have a Blackest Night read. We'll come back to it as well. And Dark Rider, Batman had a white ring too. Yes. And I've, with Healthy Geeks here on this live, he loves to rag on the lanterns and say, like, well, if I just take your ring off, then the fight is over. I'm like, it's way more to it than that. So let me go into a little bit of like love for Hal Jordan, just on a personal level. And then I'm going to read you. Let me see if hold on, let me put this down and see if I've got something I can show you. So I do love Hal Jordan on a personal level. You guys know that I have crushes on certain comic book characters. Like Nightwing is one of them, and Hal Jordan is another. And Hal Jordan is that character of like, if we think of like the cosmos as like the Wild West, he's like, you know, that lone ranger out there, like searching like far territory stuff, right? But always comes home every once in a while. But also, he's not really a one-woman kind of guy, and you just kind of know that. Can we have the pink kryptonite? I forget what. Oh my gosh, I feel like TikTok would get really, really upset with the pink kryptonite, right? Am I right? Okay. Let me see. Look at how these ones are falling apart. Yeah, these are my Supergirl comic books. These are not my Green Lanterns. Except for this one, The Killers of Krypton. And I can riff on that story, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm just going to go back to what I originally wanted to talk to you guys about, which is why I love Hal Jordan. And why the original movie, when they did Parallax wrong, was like kind of, it's a missed opportunity. But going back to someone, for me, I'd go Yellow Fear, Dark Rider, yes. So also to go back to each of the rings, please do drop in the chat what ring you would choose. I know in some of the Teen Titans or some of the other versions, there's like blends of the rings. So I think like blue and pink. Also, that would be kind of cool looking, very cyberpunk kind of lantern ring. And these ring colors should not be confused with the kryptonite colors, right? So like blue kryptonite, for example, does like bad things to Bizarro and stuff. But and then red kryptonite, I read a story once in like Legion of Superheroes where Supergirl gets exposed to red kryptonite, so she grows boobs. And so they don't let her into the Legion because they're only supposed to have teenagers. And they're like, you're a superwoman, though. You never told to use all the emotions for each ring. Well, it's not exactly what people think, right? So the biggest issue I have, I'm going to go on a small rant. The biggest issue I have with the Lantern trailer that we have coming up is that it seems like Hal is safeguarding his ring from Jon Stewart, kind of being like, I'm not going to give you my ring. Over this, my dead body, am I going to give you my ring? And I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense because each lantern has their own ring. There's almost like a green fairy that resides in each of the rings, kind of like a Cortana in like Halo, like for Master Chief. And it's like a symbiotic relationship. So it doesn't quite make sense that like it's like the one ring to rule them all, like Schmeagol kind of thing. Doesn't quite relate. Shifting the rings is mood. Yeah, as someone who feels emotions very intensely, this is why I feel like I read a comic book where they talk about why Will, like out of all the lanterns, they deem themselves as like the ones who provide justice to the universe, right? Because when it comes to love, there's this conversation that Jon Stewart has with his girlfriend Fatality, who's a Star Sapphire, and she says like, everything is very simple, like love makes things very simple. Why don't you just do things for love? Because like I think they find out that like these alien guys have like killed a planet, so she like takes out her like big axe and she's like, so we must kill them, right? And John Stewart's like, no, that's not what we do. We have to like interrogate them and like figure out what happened. And she's like, oh no, you make things so complicated. And he's like, things are not so simple, fatality. And she's like, oh, but like, you know, if you love something, like, isn't it simple? And it's not, right? Because like, for example, let's say you love somebody, but they don't love you back in the way that you would like. And then there's like jealousy and all these other emotions that come along with like love, and also like unrequited love, love lost, you know, these different kinds of ways that love evolves as we become different people. And it does become much more complicated. And in the context of the rings, it is known that hey, Angel Martinez, thank you for that. It's known that the love ring, the star sapphire ring, can be parasitic. So what I mean by that is that it's known that the rings are almost like sentient in and of themselves, right? So if you don't have a strong consciousness, or you don't have the ability to kind of, Carol Ferris actually does a good job of, she like lets the ring does take over her, right? But think about it, it's like no different than if you go through a bad breakup. So you do crazy things like have a bad rebound, you know, like you try to do like that stuff to make your ex jealous and all this, like all the crazy things you do in the name of love, right? And like logic goes out the window. That's where like the love ring can like gets everyone into trouble. You know, so yeah, I'll leave it there at that. There's many different storylines where Carol and Hal realize that they're kind of like both messed up, love each other, but like they're not really going to have a traditional kind of relationship, right? All right, yeah, all right. And Gwen Stacy, hey guys, it is Jessica Cruz here. So just talking about the different rings, you know, like just you may resonate with being each of the rings. Like I resonate with the rage ring, like the red ring. And this is why Supergirl does as well. And bringing it back to Jessica Cruz, she actually ends up with a fear ring as a result of like the PTSD from seeing her friends being murdered in front of her, right? So the fear ring, I forget, I did a whole origin deep dive on this ahead of this like a while ago, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But the fear ring that Jessica has is the Ring of Volthoom, and it's like I forget how it was made. I don't know if any of you nerds in the chat, if you know how the Ring of Volthoom was made, there you go. It's not exactly like the fear ring here, because the fear ring in this case, not to be confused with the Sinestro Core, which I'm sure Sinestro Core wants to call it that. It's not about where like Green Lantern is like, oh, you have the ability to conquer fear. The fearing is about your ability to cause fear in others, right? So this is why those rings don't necessarily work well with each other, but you can see where the power of the fear ring would come from, because it would be, I guess, kind of misunderstood somewhat, because you're like, well, fear ring, like, does my power come from being fearful? No, it comes from your ability to cause fear in others. And so if you have lanterns who have the ability to just like not be fearful, those two energies are not necessarily, that's why they're located where they are on this sheet, right? They're kind of like more, we'll do a bingo next time and helps explain it. Okay, where was I going with this? Compassion, hope, greed. I forget the other part of what I was going to say. Oh, yes. I was going to actually talk about the Lantern trailer and how Hal Jordan kept on saying, like, are you afraid? Are you afraid? I'm like, why aren't you just reciting the oath, which charges your ring? And, you know, and Jon Stewart and Hal do not have the kind of relationship that they're kind of, well, I mean, like, just in the comic books I've read, they don't really have that kind of relationship. Hal is kind of like old school Green Lantern, yes, but it's kind of like, you know, if you've ever been at work and, you know, like, let's say you're like doing really great at your job, and then like they promote you, but they promote you to being like a people manager, but you're maybe just like good at like doing what you're doing, right? But then they always like want to put you into people management, but maybe you're not good at people management, but they like do that anyways because you're good at your job. But I'm just relating it to this because like that's what Hal kind of reminds me of like he's really good at being like a Green Lantern, and so like the Guardians want to like almost like promote him to being like leader, but like he's not necessarily comfortable. Like he's good with like mentoring and like leading in that sense, but like as far as like being captain or like having that official title and like leading the team meetings, not so much. And I get that, right? He's kind of more like a renegade kind of thing. So John Stewart is like quintessential kind of like that military leader, like very good at organizing. You'd want him to be like your strategist. His way of making constructs with the ring, it makes sense that he'd be a leader. And so Hal recognizes that in John Stewart and realizes that he has the much better personality type of doing that. And so but doesn't mean that Hal's going to follow those orders all the time. He's still going to do what he wants anyways. But there is a level of mutual respect between those men, which I don't know is carried through in the trailer, as well as I don't know why they just didn't like recite at least a little bit of the oath, right? Instead of repeating, "Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you afraid?" I'd just be like, "In brightest day, in blackest night, let no evil escape my sight, and let all those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light." Lana Lang, oh my gosh, I have a funny story about Lana Lang, which I'm gonna oh my gosh, I'm not gonna go over it right now because we talked about the heebie-jeebies. Did Hal take care? Yes, that's actually where he is right now. Gwen Stacy. I like that name, Josie. Like Josie and the Pussycat Dolls, and the Pussycats. From Archie Comics, which I loved back in the day. Okay. I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk about in terms of that. Oh, yes. Why I love Hal Jordan. And then we'll end. So, Hal Jordan and Parallax, right? In the movie, they have Parallax as like a monster, but it's not exactly that. It's all about this like personification of fear. I forget what exactly happens, but a traumatic event happens. And so Hal Jordan, in an attempt to rebuild his hometown, he starts to gather up all the different lantern rings to like generate enough power to do so. And this, like, you know, it's like that whole old story of like power corrupts, right? So, oh, good morning, good evening, Sabrina Teenage Witch. I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I love the Archie comics. So good. It's also where I read like Ninja Turtles and stuff too. Speaking of being green, you know, and all the double entendres of symbolic meaning, right? Because green can also be in like green slime, green ooze, the green orb. So there's, depending on the context in which you're using it, depends on where you're standing, whether it's good or bad. Because even when it comes to this story, when I first was introduced to Green Lanterns, let me read you a little bit in here, which is why I do cosplay of Supergirl with Hal sometimes, because he tries to give Supergirl some friendly advice, and I'll read you guys some of it. You can get the full read actually on my YouTube. This Crypto's actually in this as well. Let me just go here. So Supergirl comes to Mogo. Mogo is a sentient planet who actually also has a Green Lantern ring, too. I think Mogo is a boy planet, I think. Oh, thank you. Hi, Sergio. And Waves Riku. I appreciate that. But typically, I read you guys like bedtime comic book stories because it's all about powering up that imagination as you go into your dream state, right? And like as I told you guys, I love horror movies. And luckily for me, I've never really suffered from nightmares or night terrors. But I do have friends and my little sister who used to suffer from such things, but I used to try to give her like dream tricks or like psychic tricks, right? Because to me, like if a big scary guy is coming at you in a dream, this is your dream, so just like kick the guy in the nuts, or like, call your dragon, get your magical sword out. You can deal with it, right? Realize that you have the conscious imaginative power to get yourself out of any situation, or just like if you don't want to be in that, if you're stuck in like a haunted house, open up a portal, get out of there. Right? Or call me. I'll go to the tell my guy to get out of there. But this is why I love comic books, right? Because no matter what the storyline is, you can have like end of the universe, this end of the multiverse, the end of time itself, right? Our heroes will always find a way. Hell no, haunted house. Well, Gwen Stacy, it's funny. Zatanna and Constantine. Like Constantine, I think I guess it's a house of mystery, and I guess that's not exactly the same thing as a haunted house, right? So, I think, and if you have friendly ghosts, maybe it's not so bad. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, so in this storyline, Supergirl, she becomes aware of the fact that Krypton may not have just like imploded because of natural disasters, right? It may have been because someone wanted to annihilate that planet on purpose. And then she talks to Hal and gets him to try to like scan this like axe to see like for fingerprints. And there's like redacted files on Moko. And so Hal's like, oh, that's weird. Like, I'm me, and I can't even see these files. So, like, what's going on? And typically, if you're hiding information, what's going on, right? So ultimately, Supergirl asks Hal the question of like, what would you do if your bosses? So the bosses of the Green Lanterns are the Guardians, are like these little blue guys. I wonder if you can see. They kind of look like this guy. Right? This. Because what they find out is that within the Guardians, who are the bosses of the Green Lanterns, you have corruption, which like happens like in a lot of like cop movies too, right? You have like the good cops and the bad cops, and like perhaps like have people who are like in cahoots with like the mob, at the top. Best ship or Black. Oh, I can't choose. I do love Zatanna and Constantine, though. I do. I've been also working on my own little magic tricks as well. I relate to Zatanna a lot. The characters I cosplay as, I typically do gain power from, like, putting them on, right? So, if you guys have not tried cosplay before, even if you don't want to do it live, you can even do that in like an imaginative form, right? Where like, with Jessica, she manages to transmute the fear ring of Volthoom into becoming worthy of a Green Lantern ring by selfishly, sacrificing herself, I think, to save the Flash. And I think that's what a hero is defined as, right? This idea of, giving your life up for a higher purpose, right? Something that is beyond yourself, beyond this life. And that can be symbolized by like, throwing yourself over your friend to protect them, or like, doing the right thing, the hard thing when the time comes, right? All of these things, all the little victories that maybe no one sees in the grand scoreboard of the universe, it's all known, right? I don't know, it's not a movie, it's a show. I think it's because it's James Gunn was supposed to be behind it, even though like he's not really that involved in it that much. And Vancouver, Canada, hey, Verified Rebel, love the name, Rebel. They're playing. wicked imagination. So if you have that ring, you can make a lot of fun stuff to stimulate little ones, right? Chock full of imaginations. You have like training wheel rings for babies. We are Venom. Oh, hi. And thank you for being a long-time watcher. So don't have a comic book for you guys. I wanted to just jump on the live because I promised you guys that I'd be on as Jessica with you guys yesterday, but I was way too tired after all the dancing and the hair whips, and I needed to do some stretches. So tomorrow, I'm planning on being Lois Lane's Superwoman version, and we're going to do a workout. I'm going to show you guys my dumbbells. I wanted to actually do a workout with these with you guys, but I was like, I kind of look like Christmas, right, with the green and the red, and I don't know, it bothered me for some reason. I'm half Filipino and half South African, and I was born in the prairies, so Canada, but I like to call myself an earthling. Where was I going with this? Okay. Oh yes, tomorrow we're going to do a workout. I'm going to try to have it over lunchtime. Mahal kita. Oh, love it. I actually named my D&D character Mayari Moonchild after the Filipino goddess of the moon. So I'm all about the storytelling. I'm all about the lore and all the different... I'm a student of stories. I guess I'll put it that way, right? And I think... I have to thank you guys too in terms of like every time I've gone live with you guys, I've always found out new stories and different rabbit holes to go down. And oh my gosh, my hair, I wanted to like, it's been so long since my own hair has been like here and mine, right? I started dyeing my hair when I was like 16, right? And I went to an all-girls Catholic school here in Winnipeg, St. Mary's Academy, and I dyed my hair like streaks of fire engine red, and I had to dye it back because apparently my hair color, fire engine red, was not found in nature. Alas. I went on and dyed my hair many different colors. Thank goodness my hair managed to like survive the whole thing. But since finding wigs, I've been able to actually just like save my own hair and like let it just like come back and be its own self kind of thing. I could actually dye my hair again, like fire engine, and because it just hasn't been dyed in a while, this is all like natural now, it would take to it, right? Because don't ever dye your hair black hair dye. It's impossible to lift out of your hair, or it becomes very difficult. So it's easier to like lift up and then maybe just do like a semi-permanent to like darken it. But oh, Prince of Wales, yes, I'm so happy you recognized me. I went over I think I'm gonna like wrap up tonight. I'm just gonna let you guys know. So tomorrow, Work It Out Wednesday. I mean, we'll be on a little bit earlier. We'll do a bit of a workout routine. You don't have to have weights, so there'll be like weights optional, but I'm going to be doing it as Supergirl. And then I'm going to have a stretch planned for those of you guys who game a lot, because like if you're gaming or if you're in front of a screen a lot of pronation forward happens, and so things like your posture, you know, things like, you know, moving and stretching and like all that kind of stuff, it all helps with like your vitality and your will, and like this whole idea of like embodying this. I don't have to be judged. I'll just make it. I know, but I have my own internal voices that I've been having to deal with recently, and I'm going to be, oh my goodness. I'll save that for tomorrow. That part of the story. Welcome. I always hesitate with that kind of stuff, because you know what's funny? Even though I'm like little, I still have like memories of like my mom calling me fat, right? So, you know, like all the body image issues. But, oh, there's a team match invite. What? Oh, I don't know how that works. I need to, so any of those kinds of matches, I need to like be prepared for that. I also never like doing battles where like I'm literally not doing anything, or I don't have a dance planned, or I'm not with like hubby DJing. So yeah, that has to be planned. I think a team match and that. All right, guys, I think that takes care of tonight. Thank you so much for joining me as Jessica Cruz. We went over some lantern lore. And we will be back tomorrow. I'm going to have some different framing set up in terms of like the workouts and stuff. Oh, thank goodness, Gwen Stacy. Yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons to both, right? Like, I had a friend of mine who ended up, like, the public, like, transitioning from, like, a small Catholic school to a public school system was very hard on him. And so he was, like, bullied as a result. So, like, and not to say that you wouldn't be bullied at, like, a private school, but kids can be mean across the board, and like simple things like sitting in the cafeteria at lunch and all that kind of stuff, I think is harder than people give it credit for. And like us, you know, as you grow up dealing that. What ring would Wolfie would be blue. I feel like he'd be Hope. Yeah. The Flash would be Hope. And I feel like Wolfie's got a lot of hermetic, mercurial attributes in his astro. So I'll catch all you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for this. No worries. This is a little bit of a late early stream. I didn't have a comic book. No Spider Card. I think someone was trying to do like a team battle thing, but I didn't know anyone who was in it. So I was like, this wasn't planned. I don't think that anyone was ready. All right, guys, have a beautiful, yes, she does. You totally read my mind, Gwen Stacy. All right, guys. So remember, I'm going to leave you with my catchphrase. It takes true courage for you to be exactly you in the cosmic game of life. So be sure to play as exactly you, because guess what? The universe is counting on you. But no worries. I have your back. Until next time, goodbye and good night, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.